Hey guys, it's really late. Excuse me, I've had a little cough too. YouTube's been down for the last few hours, so I haven't been able to post a video, and I'm just getting around to it right before I go to bed, because it's been a really busy week. So, and the topic today is, excuse me, on guilt. And it's hard for me to talk about guilt without talking about shame, because I know somebody else will be addressing shame this week, but in my point of view, they kind of go hand in hand, because I don't think that, in my point of view, guilt is a good thing, not a bad thing. Shame is what we confuse with guilt, because shame is what causes us to hurt ourselves or to feel bad about ourselves to the point that we make our situations worse, or self-deprecate ourselves, or lower our self-esteem. Guilt, on the other hand, is actually a positive thing, because when we feel guilty about something, we're not so much personalizing an action or something that's happened. For example, if I were to say something to a friend that offended them, and I may not have meant to, but I saw that caused them pain, and so I would feel guilty for my action. But instead of feeling like, oh, I'm a horrible friend now and a horrible person, they don't ever want to talk to me again, and then going and hiding or going and engaging in eating disorder behavior, I would say, okay, I made a mistake, but I'm going to change this. I'm not a bad person, and I generally feel bad, so I'm going to try and make things right. And I would go to that person and apologize and try and or clear up whatever miscommunication there was, and then hopefully be able to look at that in retrospect and apply it to the future. And when we approach guilt from that way, it actually becomes a productive mechanism. So, if I never felt guilt, I would never have a reason to change. Guilt is one of the driving forces behind recovery, because if you never feel any guilt about your behaviors, then why would you want to change them? Why, if you never felt guilt about hurting yourself, which you should be a friend to yourself, then why would you want to change it? When we have a relapse and we feel guilty about it, then the approach is, okay, something should actually be a loving approach towards ourselves. So we look at that and we say, we feel bad about that we participated in that behavior, or that we became so overwhelmed that we momentarily lost control. And then we look back and we try to figure out what led up to that, and what can I do to change that. And then you need to forgive yourself, and you become stronger in that process, because most likely the more you practice that, the less likely you are to resort to self-destructive behaviors and find healthy coping skills. And guilt is a driving force in helping you become a better person, and building your self-esteem, and forgiving yourself and others, and asking for forgiveness, which is important. And you become more open-minded and are able to be less judgmental of other people in their problems. Things other people do bother you less, because you take responsibility for your own action. Guilt, true guilt, drives us to take responsibility for the actions that we've done. And shame, on the other hand, is like the complete counterfeit of guilt, in my opinion, because shame leads to self-defeat, black and white thinking, that if you've done really well for a long time in recovery and suddenly you slip up, instead of feeling guilt, which would be, I feel bad that I resorted to that behavior, but I know I'm not a bad person, I know that I can still recover and I can learn from this. You become this horrible person. Everything is lost, you might as well not recover. You failed everybody, you failed yourself, and so you might as well do it again and just make the cycle worse. That's the difference between guilt and shame. So when you think about that, look at what guilt really is. A lot of times people say, I can't change because I feel guilty about this, and what they are confusing it with is shame. They don't really feel guilty, they feel shame. And there's a huge difference, because you personalize shame, you take on shame, you reinforce shame, and shame grows. And guilt, on the other hand, brings forth healing and takes you through that emotional cleansing that you need to feel in order to change. So guilt is a good thing, in my opinion, and necessary and vital to recovery, and without it, none of us would recover. So I'm going to go to bed now. My voice is going, and it's really late here, so have a good week.